Happy New Year! Welcome 2024. Oh my goodness me. I'm spending a little bit of time reflecting on 2023. And I thought I'd share that with you today, that reflection, because I'm sitting here in my living room in my new house that I know would never have happened if it wasn't for the Best Year Yet Design Your Life workshops. This all happened because I planted a seed a few years ago and I got really intentional about, if I want a house, what action do I need to take now to live in that house in the future? Who do I need to be, do, have to make that happen? How much do I need to save? What kind of house would I be able to afford? Like all those things. Instead of just saying I want my own house one day, I got very intentional about the house, how I'd make it happen. And that's why I'm sitting here in the house today. And I'm just having a little moment. So I want to share this with you because if there's something that you want in your life, you can make it happen. You can work out the steps to get there. So as I reflect back, I feel quite emotional. I'm just sat on the floor. I'm sat on the floor in my living room. Um, oh gosh. And as I reflect back, actually, I think 2022, I was climbing the mountain. And, I was doing this big endurance event. And I remember thinking back to when I was first asked to do that event. If someone had told me the steps that would be needed to make that happen, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have said yes because, one, I would have thought that I wouldn't have the time to do it, that I wouldn't be able to do it, I wouldn't be capable. And it just would have felt too overwhelming. And so that was a big lesson for me, actually, in realizing the things that I probably say no to a lot in my life because I feel like I'm not capable. But actually, I really enjoyed it and I did it. Now, the following year, 2023, the year just gone, there was two big things that I really wanted to get done. The one being the book and the second house. Now, in January, I knew that house was going to be on my list because in the December, I'd been given notice on my rental. I'd been there 8 years and I'd been given notice. And fortunately, because I've been doing Best Year Yet in the years prior to that, I had a house on my vision board. Now, the house was kind of like way up here, um, at least double, probably triple the cost of this one that I'm sat in right now. But, it was a crazy vision. It was a crazy kind of like, oh, if I could have a house and it could look like this, wouldn't that be amazing? And I even went to look at houses that I couldn't afford that were on auction. Because I was really getting into the like thinking bigger. And so what I then started to do was save, and I've never saved in my life. And I kind of knew that if I want a house in the future, then I need some money, I need a deposit. And so, of course, that was my step. And I was really, really thinking hard about how to make that happen, how to save that amount of money, how to cut back. And it was intentional. And so, what happened, and I wasn't prepared to be looking for a house at that point. This was kind of like my long term vision. But I was given notice in the December, which was, just over 12 months ago. And I was in shock because it wasn't my decision. I had to leave and they were giving me a few weeks to move out. And it was really stressful. And what happened then was my mindset shifted a bit because I felt terrified because all of a sudden I was having to move house and I didn't feel ready. I don't think I would have ever felt ready though. I don't think I would have ever left that rental, to be honest, because it was my comfort zone. Um, and I had to really overcome a lot of limiting beliefs around buying a property by myself as a single parent. I found the whole thing absolutely terrifying. And it is a mindset thing because it was kind of no different really to being in the rental. It does cost more, but I cut back in other areas so that my outgoings were exactly the same as they were before, just to stop the anxiety. And so, but because it was a purchase and I'm a single parent, these stories that I began to tell myself, it was no different to being in the rental to what I was spending. But then all of a sudden, it felt different, felt like a big responsibility. It felt like, oh, what if this happens? What if I can't afford? And it was really eye opening. And actually, now reflecting back on how life can change so quickly when all I've done is move house. That's it. And when I think of it like that, and I have a mortgage now instead of a rental contract, it's like when I break it down, it's not that big a difference. But in my head, it was. And again, it just shows sometimes how much we hold ourselves back because of the fear around the stories that we tell ourselves. And it always amazes me. Every year, there's something that crops up, something major. And so, and again, if someone had told me when I bought this house what work was actually needed, I wouldn't have bought it. Yet I'm sat in here and I'm so happy that I bought it. So let me just backtrack. The day I was given notice on my rental, I literally I couldn't find anything because it was a few weeks before Christmas they gave us notice. And I went back to them and I said, we can't find anywhere to live at this short notice at this time of year. And so they gave me until the April to find somewhere. So, it was kind of a bit stressful this time last year, really thinking that, wow, we're going to have nowhere to live soon and I need to find somewhere. And at that point, I was looking at rentals, I was looking at buying. There was nothing coming on the market. The mortgage rates were through the roof. It was a lot, it was a lot to process. Um, and I went to see houses, none of them were quite right. I really did want a lot of space because I work from home. So having an office and having an art space, I kind of had a bit of a list. um, and again, I'm glad I had that list, because sometimes we can feel like we're being greedy and, oh, I should just get this and I should just do this because there's nothing else available. But again, from doing the best year yet workshops in the past, I've got really clear on okay, when I move house, this is what's important to me. I want my own office space. In the previous house, I occupied the dining room. So the dining room was the office. And so my personal life and my work life got mangled up all the time and twisted and it was hard to switch off. I remember we were having Christmas dinner one year and there's all my post-it notes everywhere and I'm like, oh, my stuff. And it was like, oh, I can't have another Christmas like this. But sometimes you got to make do, and that was fine at that point. But then what I love about Design Your Own Life and Best Year Yet is that every year, for me anyway, every year I'm growing and I'm pushing myself and I'm going in different directions. And so the house that I had in my head or on my vision board was more extravagant than what I'm living in now. But I really believe that if I hadn't have thought so extravagantly on my vision board, I'd be sitting in a very different house now. I'd be sitting in a much smaller house in not such a nice area. But because I pushed my thinking bigger, I'm sat in the house now that ticks a lot of boxes. We've got a spare bedroom, I've got my office, and it's like all these things that, I feel very fortunate, but I made it happen. I designed this. And this is the power of these workshops that we'll take part in. And the other thing that I've learned from doing these workshops is that everything that I've kind of put on the vision board and everything that I've been intentional about creating, it's taken time, and I mean years. And that might just be because I'm slow. I'm slow at processing things. I like to take my time. I'm not in a hurry. And so, but it's been a big lesson that when we put something out there that, yeah, this is the direction that I want to go in, that it doesn't necessarily always happen straight away and overnight. And I want to share this because a lot of people do think that right, I'm going to give this a go. And I hear people say this, I'm going to give this a go. And if it doesn't happen by this time, then that's it, I'm done. And that's okay, by the way. I think that having deadlines is great. And I think draw a line in the sand if you really do mean it and you want to give it a go and give it a time scale. But the danger sometimes with that is that, especially if it's something that you truly, truly desire, truly want in life, I think personally, um, give some deadlines and milestones to get there, like the hurdles. So, for example, when I was climbing the mountain, I had to climb it 8 times. So the big dream was to climb this distance of a mountain. And to break that goal up, I climbed it 8 times. And so, and there had to be a deadline for each of those climbs because I only had 36 hours to do it in. Um, and so I do believe in deadlines, and I do believe that having, you know, the goalposts really do help us take action. Not everybody, some people get really stressed out with deadlines, but I kind of like them. But when it's something that you really want, like maybe it is to make a living doing what you love or to have the house, it takes time. And for me, there's never a deadline. So for United Art Space, when I decided to set up United Art Space, there just wasn't a deadline. There wasn't like, right, if it doesn't work when I get to this point, then I'm quitting. I never ever thought that way because I was going to keep at it until I made it happen. There was no plan B. It was like, I'm going to make United Art Space work against all the odds. I had so many people tell me it wouldn't work. I had, on paper, it wasn't working. It was 3 years in and it wasn't working. I was losing money. Um, but I just had that determination. And there's no right or wrong here, and I'm not saying that you should think like that and you should be like that about your own goals. I'm just giving different examples here in case you're sitting there thinking, oh, if I don't do it by then I'm quitting. That might be the right decision for you to make. It might be that, yeah, I'm done. I've poured all my heart and soul into this. I've got nothing else to give. And you want to take a step back, and that's fine. Or it might be just give yourself a breather for a minute and then go back to it. Or if you get really fired up about something and you're really passionate about it, then maybe don't give it an end deadline. Maybe break it up to like climbing 8 times. So, okay, this year we'll aim to get here. But it's a never ending goal. So this is what I love about Best Year Yet. But in a nutshell, I'm sat in this house now and I'm so proud of myself. I just want to say that out loud. I am so proud of myself. And like I said, if someone had told me when I got the keys, I was so happy when I got the keys to the house. I was so excited and I had a picture outside, like, and then I walked in and I was like, oh, because when I came to see this house, there was furniture in it and the windows were open, so it felt very fresh. But when I walked in, the nicotine smell hit me, and the people that lived here since 1987 had smoked since that time. Oh my gosh, it's still now. I feel like I've cleaned everything, and then I'll find something, and then I'm just wiping like thick orange nicotine off the walls or under a surface that I hadn't discovered. Um, and so I walked in, and everything was orange, and everything stank, and it looked dirty. It looked disgusting. And I don't want this to sound bad. The previous owner, she was very old, um, and I know that she used to get a cleaner in. But it's just different when you move your stuff out. And I'm sure the house that I moved out of was disgusting too. So I don't want to be critical of this lady that lived here before, because she was lovely, but it was a big shock. And I had to spend like the first 2 days just disinfecting the place. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I have taken on a bigger project here than I actually realized. I thought I could just move in and just kind of get settled in, but this isn't going to happen. And I felt this wave of overwhelm, and I just actually felt this wave of, what have I done? And I wanted to go back and take the keys back and say, I don't want this house. And then I started to get in my own head about oh, you shouldn't have done this. You wanted the space, so you've now created all this for yourself. And then I went through this whole series of everything going wrong in the house. So everything that I picked up broke. I walked in the garden, the fences were down, and I could see into the neighbour's garden. I flushed the chain, and the water started leaking everywhere. I went into the kitchen, and it was flooded. I was like, "Get me out of this house!" It was awful. It was awful. And I remember at that point thinking, "Oh, this is really stressful." I was really stressed out, almost to the point like thinking, "I don't know how much more I can take of things going wrong in this house." But now I'm sat here on my living room floor and it feels like my home. I'm going to maybe get a bit emotional. I've never made a home a home. I've always rented. I don't know. I can't even explain. I've never really kind of settled anywhere. It's been really strange actually. And I have decorated places before, but just out of a need, not out of love. Just like, oh gosh, let's just get some paint on this wall. And here, I feel that with every task and every challenge, as hard as it was at the time, it was growing again. I've grown so much and I've learned so much. And I have such an appreciation and love for this home now because everything that's gone wrong and I've fixed it and I found a way. And I feel like I know every inch of this house because I've had to clean every inch of it and I've had to fix most things in this house. And I just feel sometimes like things happen in our lives, and it's such a cliche to say this, but you know, it's trusting the process that this is happening for a reason. And I'm growing, I'm learning here, and it doesn't feel like it at the time. It feels brutal, and I just wanted to escape. But now I feel like I'm out the other side. I'm like, wow, what an experience that has been. It's been exhausting. It's actually exhausting, but I feel good. I feel good. And I feel like I have just climbed 8 summits of a mountain with this house. I really do. I really do. I did not think I'd be able to do what I've done. And I did. And it's amazing. So I would love you to join the Best Year Yet Design Your Life workshops because it starts with that intention of planting the seeds. And if you have taken part before, it's such a great exercise to reflect back on the years gone, what your goals were before, what they will be going forward, connecting in here, thinking about how you want to feel, but thinking about the tangible, like where do you want to live? What kind of studio do you want? And those things are also important, I believe, and can be the stepping stones right in this moment of you thinking it to in 3 years' time, living it. So, yeah, there we go. There's my reflections. I mean, I've got so much more. I've got so much more, but they were the big things. I haven't even touched on the book. I've managed to write the first draft of the book and edit. I'm on draft 3. Um, and that was a massive achievement too. And I feel like that's been a walk in the park compared to the house. I thought that was going to be the big challenge. I thought the book was going to be the big challenge. It was the house. So it's really surprised me, actually. Really surprised me. So I can't wait to take part in the workshops with you. I can't wait to hear your reflections on the year. Please do share it on social media. There's a hashtag as well. I'll put the hashtag below so you can copy and paste it. And yay, we get started officially on the 18th, but we are going to do a reflection live session together next week. So look out for the details on that. Once you're signed up, we'll send you the details of when that is. And yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear as well what's manifested for you since you've been doing Best Year Yet, if you have taken it before. So thank you for listening. I'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye bye.